Okay, so this is going to be a tutorial on the 900 block 6x6 door that I built 2 days ago. Um, there's kind of two versions to this door because while it does work in every location, you do have to make a few changes to make it work. For example, like in some locations, you have to get rid of this repeater right here, and you also have to change this repeater to 4 ticks. And so this one is the um, one that you need a different location. So this is the reason for this is because the tape on the bottom, the speed of it depends on the location, and sometimes the side pistons do not retract properly if you don't do those changes. So this is the one I'm going to be showing you to build because that is the one I set up. But this is a faster one. I'll show you real quick how fast it is compared to the other one because the other one is dramatically slower. So as you can see, the tape on the bottom of this one is pretty normal speed. Um, and on this one, I'll wait for it to open. And then on this one, if I open it, as you can see, the tape is way slower, and unfortunately, there's nothing that can be done about this. So I'll show you with the way I will show you what location will if I'll show you in a second. But yeah, on this version, the tape is a lot slower. I'll show you how to check for that, and before actually building the door, there is a way to check to see what location or what version of the door you're going to have to build. So, basically, um, this is where I'm going to be doing the tutorial. This is for this one, and the reason I'm doing it for this one is because this one has like an extra repeater that I don't want to like leave out, you know? So, basically, to test the location to see if it has this problem, so your frame is going to be 5 blocks under the floor. There's going to be all your wiring. The door is 10 blocks long, 5 blocks deep, and 18 blocks tall. So when you build your frame like this, put a piston right here and then a piston right here. And then the way to test this is get a torch, 2 redstone dust, place it like this, torch, 2 redstone dust. And what you're going to do is you're going to place a block right here. If it does this, like if this piston back here fires immediately, you're going to build this one right here. And the only difference is that repeater and that repeater. There's basically no differences in the door, and I'll cover that in the tutorial, which one to build or not. Um, and I built another one over here. If it does this, like as you can see, this piston spams first, like that. This is going to be a slow door. This is going to be the slower version, like I showed here. If it does this, like in this example, it is going to be the faster one that I built right here. So just keep that in mind when you're building it. If you do see that it does this, you can still build it, but it will be slower. So you can either just keep it like this, or you can switch to a new location that does this instead and build a faster version. Okay, so to get started, here's what you need for the door. You're gonna need, I believe, what is this, 100 and I don't know how to count that. Just whatever's in its chest. Um, it is a pretty expensive door, so just make sure you have 38 hoppers, 28 droppers. What is this? 75 sticky pistons, 50 normal pistons. However many solid blocks this is. So the frame, it has to be a solid block. It doesn't have to be iron, obviously. It just has to be a block that's solid. And the wiring blocks, I'm doing separate for some reason. Um, I am going to color code the door in the tutorial though, just so you can see, because I'm doing an explanation as well. So I'm going to be showing you what circuit does what everything does in this door basically, because this door is pretty complicated, and well, it's not complicated, but the way it works is very specific, and I will show you exactly how it works. Um, so yeah, 59 redstone repeaters, 19 not whatever. You could see it on the screen. Who cares? So the first thing what I'm going to do is I'm going to build the layout. So obviously, like I said, your door is the wiring is 5 blocks below the surface. This is going to be your quad extender on the bottom, and your storage, it's not exactly like a normal 6x6. You're gonna have two storage like this, and then some storage on this side like that, and then you're going to have some pistons like this. And before we put these parts in there, I'm going to get one of the slightly annoying minecart clips out of the way. This is actually the only minecart in the door. And I forgot to mention, the door does require one chest minecart, and that's the only entity that this door actually requires. And I also missed there's a few sand blocks this requires too, like sand, gravel, anything like that. This door also requires a little bit of sand, so just keep that in mind. So for the first clip, it's not like a bad clip, but it's still slightly annoying. You're going to place a hopper this way and a repeater on top like this, and then a hopper facing into the sticky piston like that. So we're just going to temporarily get rid of these 3 blocks. You're going to grab a chest minecart and a block of some sort, and then you're going to put a powered rail, or just get the cart on the hopper like that. And then what you're going to do is just kind of nudge the minecart between this hopper and this hopper. And to test to make sure you did it right, put an item in this hopper. If the item goes through the cart and into this hopper, you are good. This is exactly what you need to do. Why is my... whatever. And that is basically all it is for this clip. And to put the pistons back, what you're going to do, place one piston here, and basically just push this piston back down where it needs to go. And then you're going to put another piston here, so you're going to put a piston here, and then you're going to take a lever and push it in like that. And if you're in Minecraft 1.8 and you're building this, you actually can't do that. So you would do this instead. Just push the piston down like that, break the head, and then just, you know, you have your clip like this. And there's actually going to be a couple extra blocks you're going to clip into this cart. You're going to get a glass block, and it has to be glass because it's transparent. Put this right there. Actually, wait, this is going to be... wait, hold on. I'm sorry, yeah. The glass block, put that there, and then put a sticky piston, or piston on top. Push it down, break it, and that's good for that one. And then you're just going to place a block right there. And also, you're going to place a block right here just to make sure we don't accidentally break this clip and have to do it again. So that is the annoying minecart clip out of the way, and then now I can move on to the actual wiring. And then before, actually I should probably build the rest of the layout. The rest of the layout, you're going to have side pistons, so you're going to have 6 pistons on this side, sticky pistons obviously, like that. And then you're going to have 5 sticky pistons on this side because one of the side pistons is actually in the ceiling. So you're going to have 5 sticky pistons like this, and then you're going to have a sticky piston upside down like this. So you can see that. There's your side pistons, quad extender, storage. And then you're also going to fill in these blocks just like this. And then for your top, you're going to have another quad extender facing downwards just like this. And then you're going to have, so just like that. And then on this side, you're going to put 4 sticky pistons like that. 4 sticky pistons like that. So you can see it's like that. And then put the blocks, your door blocks, into the storage like this. And this is your layout completed, and now we can get started with the actual wiring. Okay, so to get started, we're going to be starting with the top first because because the bottom does require some of the top to function, like the tape activation and stuff like that. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be filling these frame blocks first, just so we have stuff to place on. And just kind of fill in these blocks right here. And then I'm going to be starting with our input circuit, and our input is up here. So basically, to get started, we're going to have 2 droppers facing into each other, just like this. You're going to have, it's going to be a dropper facing up like that, and then a dropper facing down. So basically, these 2 droppers here are kissing each other. They're facing into each other like this. Block. This is your red circuit. This is going to be your input, and I'll show you exactly how this works. Comparator, block, and then 3 redstone dust like this. Redstone dust. You're going to have 2 repeaters. One is 4 ticks, one is set to 2 ticks. Redstone dust. Whoops. You're going to have a powered rail right here. This is going to be an updater. Block, lever. This is your input right here. And then you're going to have redstone dust. you're going to have a block, a repeater set to 3 ticks, sticky piston, block, sand has to be a solid gravity block, like sand, gravel, something like that. And then you're going to have, I'm sorry, wait. Your lever is supposed to be here. I'm sorry about that. And then you're going to put a slab right here. 2 redstone dust like this. And then your sticky piston is going to be here. Block there. Sand on top of there, just like that. Block. Repeater. Sticky piston. Block. Sand. And then here you're going to put 2 slabs just like this. Redstone dust and a detector rail, and this detector rail acts as your updater. And basically, actually, why is this here? Why did I put that there? Basically, what this does is, if I put a repeater, just to show you what it does, this is basically to get your your 2 storage pulses. I've clicked the lever. As you can see, I click the lever, and I get 2 pulses just like this. Pretty cool, right? Okay, and I'll show you what those pulses do in a second. And in this part down here, I haven't finished yet. You're going to put a repeater, I think here, and then you're going to put a, wait. I was right. Okay, you're going to put a repeater here, block, and you're going to put a sticky piston upside down, and then I'm going to be placing down the slider, which goes on this side. Basically, this is the slider for the side pistons. You're going to get a redstone block, put it here, 2 blocks, another redstone block, and then a block, and then you're going to put a normal piston right here. And then you're going to put a block here, redstone dust, and then you're going to put a, block here, redstone repeater. And then basically, and then you're going to put a sand right here. I'll explain what this sand does in a second. So basically, what this part does is you're going to put a non-stackable item. Non-stackable is very important. So you can put like a wooden sword. In this place, I'm doing a golden hoe, and you basically, if you power this, you'll see down that comparator turns on, and then it turns off, and then the falling edge of this doesn't work yet. I'll show you that in a second. Right now, if you turn it off, the comparator won't turn on again. And then for this, I'm going to be doing the storage circuit now. Actually, I'm going to get the falling edge out of the way, which is the gray circuit. Basically, you're going to put a block there, redstone dust, a sticky piston facing downwards, and then you're going to put a cauldron right here, and then you're going to get a water bucket. Place it in the cauldron so your cauldron is filled up. Get rid of the bucket before you place the water in the door and break it. Block, redstone comparator, block, redstone dust, and a block. And basically what this is a falling edge monostable. So basically, if you power this, it basically gives a 1-tick pulse just like this, which is going to be used for the quadruple piston extender. And put that dust back. That'll just to demonstrate what it does. And we're going to get the storage out of the way here. So basically for the storage, you're going to have, I'm going to be doing the inputs. You're going to have 2 gray blocks, 2 red blocks, actually 3 red blocks. And then I'm actually going to be building the entire dropper hopper loop up here first, because it is a little bit of a pain to build with the wiring already there. So dropper, 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 and then dropper, dropper, block, redstone dust going all the way across like that. Hoppers. So basically your hoppers are going this way. As you can see, the hoppers are going like that. And then you're going to put, am I stupid? hoppers going like this. I want to say they're like that. Okay, I missed a dropper. Okay, so you're going to put a dropper right here. So dropper, hopper, hopper, dropper that way, and hoppers going back that way into this dropper, and then 2 more hoppers like this. This is going to be your refire loop for the top. And trust me, this is not locational. It looks like it is locational, but it actually isn't. That's actually what this dropper is for, because sometimes the item skips ahead of these droppers and goes in here. That is why I put this dropper here. This top works in every location. Okay, and then for your storage, what you're going to do, repeater, 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 all set to 1 tick. 2 redstone dust, block. Actually, these are going to be gray. 4 blocks like that. Redstone dust. And 4 redstone repeaters, all set to 4 ticks, just like this. And then 2 redstone dust. And then another repeater on 4 ticks. Sticky piston. Redstone block. And a powered rail, just like this. And then you're going to put a normal piston facing up here and a normal piston facing down here. And then you're going to put some gray blocks right here, dropper right here, and then a hopper facing into that dropper. Put an item inside of it, redstone dust like this, and a redstone dust down here. 2 red blocks. I'm sorry, the dropper goes right here in the hopper, just like this. You're going to put a 2 tick going into this dropper right here, and then a red block, and then you're going to connect all of this redstone dust. And this is your storage circuit for the top. I'm actually going to be placing some barriers just so you can see it better. You don't have to do this. This is just so you can see it, to see what it's doing, I guess. I'll place them here too. This is just to give you an example of what it actually does. So this is your storage circuit done. Let's make sure I actually built it properly. So if you power this, that should happen, just like this. And then, as you can see, the way this works, I'll do the retraction as well, just so you can see it. So the way this works is that you're going to power this. You're powering this, which powers these 4 pistons. And then what you're doing is after 2 ticks, this line of dust right here will bud power these sticky pistons facing down. And this piston right here updates these sticky pistons, so that when you 1 tick this line right here and power this piston, these pistons will power, just like this. And basically, and then the second pulse, which is done by this thing right here, basically the way the second pulse works is that if you have let's say you have 2 blocks, redstone dust into it, and then a repeater. So as you can see, if I power this repeater turns on. I push this piston, it turns off, and it turns on again. That's basically what this circuit does. This dust turns on, this repeater turns on, but after 3 ticks, it turns off for a little bit. This repeater turns off, and then it turns back on. And basically that, let's place this back so I can show you one more time. Power this. As you can see, it gets 2 pulses just like this. That is how the storage circuit works. And the reason this 3 tick is under the input is because your refire is actually going to be, right here. I'll just place this repeater in a block. This is where your refire is going to be. When you power the door from there, so when you power it from there, it only will send 1 pulse so that the storage doesn't break. So let's say I power it, let's get a redstone block. As you can see, that pulses only once. And then when you refire the quad again and suck the block into the ceiling, power it again, just like this. As you can see, that does the second storage retraction. So that is basically how this storage circuit works. I don't know if anyone else has came up with a circuit like this, but this is just how I did it. I know every 6x6 works differently, and this is just how I did it in the store. And then, so next we're going to be doing is the quad extension. So I actually missed a hopper. There's a hopper that goes there. This hopper goes into this dropper. Okay, so for your quad extension, what you're going to do is you're going to place a block right here, a repeater on one tick, a block right here, block right here, 2 redstone dust, repeater on 2 ticks, and basically this is what's going to extend your quad. And because this is here, I can actually show you what this circuit does when it retracts. Basically, I'm just going to be removing the quad pistons up here for now, so it doesn't, because it's not important for what I'm showing you. Basically, if I power this, that comparator turns on and off. And basically, when I turn it off, the comparator turns on and off again. And this is for your bottom powering. I'm going to demonstrate that better later. And basically, the way this works is that when this turns off, this falling edge I showed you earlier powers these 2 redstone dust right here. And this redstone dust actually bud powers this dropper because when you retract the sand, it updates this dropper right here. That is how I got 2 edges. And the refire of the quad doesn't actually break it because the refire does not touch this piston right here, which updates it. That's basically how that part works. So for the quad extension is very simple. All it is, it powers this 2 separate times. And I'm going to be doing the quad retraction now. So for the quad retraction, the quad itself is pretty simple. Basically, you're going to have 2 repeaters all on 4 ticks, a dropper facing up, and then a hopper right here. Put an item in there, a comparator, 2 repeaters all set to 3 ticks. In your quad retraction circuit is going to be your yellow circuit. Place 2 blocks like this, dust, and then you're going to be placing a redstone torch just like that. And you're going to be putting here block, comparator, block, redstone torch, sticky piston facing it up, block, and then you're going to be placing a hopper on this torch right here, put an item in there. And this is actually going to power your side pistons slider right here. So you're going to be placing this is going to be the cyan, so you're going to be placing a block, comparator, and then a normal piston facing down, just like that. And I'm going to get the slider out of the way. Basically, for your slider, 2 glass blocks. Glass is very important because you don't want this redstone dust to power this hopper and break it. Block, block, redstone block, redstone block. 4 blocks going down like this, and then you're going to have block, 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 repeater, repeater, repeater. And then down here, you're going to have a normal piston facing up, just like this. And if I power this slider, as you can see, these pistons fire. And that is actually the same way this slider works. I power the slider here, these pistons fire. Unpower the slider, those pistons retract. Okay, and then here, what you're going to do is you're going to place a furnace right here. And in this furnace, you're going to place a stack of any block that doesn't burn. And then on that side, you're going to place a wooden non-stackable item. Just like that. Just make sure that when you do this, make sure the furnace doesn't have a block that can smelt, like an iron block works, or like you can put dirt, because dirt doesn't smelt into anything, so this is fine. The reason it is like this is because you need enough signal strength to reach the dust all the way up here. I place comparator out of here, and I place a bunch of blocks. As you can see, if I put a bunch of redstone dust, you have a decent amount of signal strength. Okay, comparator, sticky piston, block on top of the sticky piston. Okay, so this, and then, oh, this is not the rest. Repeater, 4 ticks. Actually, I'm going to start over here because there is some refire stuff you have to deal with here. You're going to put your dropper and a hopper right here. Put a block inside of this drop, or an item inside of this dropper. I'm just going to be getting this refire circuit out of the way real quick. Block, comparator, repeater set to 4 ticks, block, block, dropper facing up, dropper facing down, an item inside of that dropper, a comparator right here, and then a block right here. This is your refire circuit, and also what you're going to need up here for your quad extension. A redstone block here, a slab right here, redstone dust, a repeater set to 4 ticks, and a repeater set to 3 ticks, and a redstone dust. And then over here, what you're going to do is you're going to place a repeater. Okay, so if you're building the door, and it's in a fast location, like I showed here, this is going to be set to 1 tick. If you're building this door and it did this, it's in a slow location, you're going to set this to 4 ticks. Since this is a fast location, this is going to be set to 1 tick. Block like that, repeater on 1 tick, repeater on 4 ticks, block, block, repeater on 4 ticks, and a block. And then here you're going to place a comparator, this is for your refire, and then a powered rail right here. And then I think this should be the entire top complete. Actually, for your tape activation, let me make sure, okay. For your tape activation, you're going to place a repeater over here. It's a little hard to place on 4 ticks. See, it's 4 ticks, block, and then a comparator in front of it, just like that. And then this comparator is going to be set to subtraction mode, and then you're going to place a a repeater on 4 ticks right here, 2 redstone dust, and then you're going to place a block like this with a redstone dust on top, and then you're going to place a normal piston here, sticky piston, redstone block. So this is your tape activation. And now this should be the entire top complete. Okay, so now that we have our top completed, I'm going to be testing the quad extender. Let me just make sure I put all the items in here necessary to... That should only have 1 item. Just making sure I put all the items necessary in here. Whoops, I just powered the top. Whoops. Okay, so place your quad extender pistons in here. Storage, just like this. And then your blocks. So let's test it. This is exactly what it's supposed to do. Your piston should extend like that. And you're supposed to hear a few dropper clicks. This is this chain of repeaters firing. Open. And there you go. There's your quad extender circuit. And also, as you probably noticed, these pistons stay extended. And this actually applies to the regular door. The actual door, the repeaters do stay extended. And that is actually why this redstone dust and this detector rail is there. Basically, when you power it, before these pistons have a chance to extend, this redstone dust is powered by this monostable, which actually updates the pistons and turns them off before these can actually power. Okay, so now let's actually put our items in for the refire. So basically inside of this dropper right here, you're going to place an item in there, and then inside of this hopper right here under the redstone block, we actually need to keep that redstone block there because otherwise the item will move into that dropper. So just do it from under here. Go inside that hopper, place an item inside of it. And then let's place our storage back on up here and power the door. As you can see, the quad extends, your storage extends into it. And then to test your refire, place, uh-oh, I broke something. I didn't do something correctly. That's not good. What did I do? I definitely did something incorrectly. I don't know what I did wrong. Did I miss... I'm terribly sorry. There's supposed to be a dropper right here, not a hopper. I'm stupid. if there's, just get any item that's not where it's supposed to be out of there. So there's not supposed to be an item in, wait, what? Okay, take that out. And where is the other one? There's probably another one in, there, okay. So place your items back where they're supposed to go, and then test it again. Because that's my mistake. I don't know why. I don't know how I screwed that up. Okay. So remove those pistons that pushed in, and then place all your quad pistons back where they're supposed to go. Okay. And make sure these repeaters are done powering things before you open it. Okay, this will refire just like that. And then there should be one more refire. And there you go. Let's test it one more time just to make sure. And I will show you that if I power this lever, watch the pistons. They retract just before the storage can extend into it, just like that. And the reason that happens is because I couldn't actually fit an updater here. So I basically just used that redstone dust as an updater. Okay, so that is your top completed, and now in this next section we are going to be doing the bottom. Okay, so to get started on the bottom, I'm going to be extending these sliders just to retract the pistons because, I don't know, I just feel better when they're retracted. I'm going to be getting this entire dropper hopper loop out of the way first because it is a little bit annoying to build, just like the one in the top. Okay, so what you're going to do first is place 6 redstone blocks just like that, and the reason we're doing this is, as you can see, the pistons will extend. This is for your slider on the bottom. As you can see under the door, there are 6 redstone blocks that slide across, and basically that is what actually powers the bottom row of pistons. And the reason it's done like this is because over here the storage would get in, if there's a dust line here, it would get in the way. This dust would power things, this repeater would power things, and everything would just break. And I also had to have space for the last pull circuit, which I'll show you later. So that is why this door uses a redstone block slider. I don't think I've ever seen another 6x6 do this. There probably is, but this is the first time I've ever seen a 6x6 do that. And then you're going to place a normal piston here and a normal piston here. If I power the slider, as you can see, those pistons retract just for a little bit. And if you time it right and power these pistons right after it, these will retract and these will stay retracted. I'll show you that in a second. Okay. For your loop, you're going to be placing an upside down dropper like this. You're going to place a dropper facing that way like that, and a dropper facing up into this hopper that we placed earlier. And then you're going to place a dropper like this, and then you're going to place a bunch of hoppers going that direction, going all the way that way, as you can see, just like this. And then over here, what you're going to do is you're going to place a dropper facing down, and then a dropper facing this way, and then you're going to place a dropper facing that way, 2 droppers facing up like that. Let me make sure I did that right. Okay. Facing up. Okay, no, I was wrong. Wait, no, wait. A dropper. I swear I remembered this. Left, up, up. Okay, so the dropper goes here, dropper, dropper, just like this. And then you're going to connect. And then this dropper actually goes this way. So dropper facing down, dropper facing like this, and then you're going to put 2 hoppers like this. The hoppers are going that way, and then you're going to place a hopper right here. And then you're going to place 2 more hoppers, and these hoppers are going to go into this dropper, and then a hopper into that hopper. And then here, you're going to place a comparator right here, and then a repeater on. Okay, so this is the part that, if you're doing this after 1.16, or after 1.8, I'm not really sure what version this changed in, because I only tested this in 1.8, and I believe after 1.15, this needs to be a 2-tick. If you're doing this in 1.8, which I wouldn't really recommend you do, but if you do this in 1.8, this is going to have to be set to 1 tick. But since we're in 1.21, we're going to be setting this to 2 ticks. And also, if you're in Minecraft 1.16 or higher, you're going to place a target block right here. If you're not in 1.16, you're going to place a regular block, just like that. But since we're after 1.16, a target block is going to go right here. Okay, so this should be the entire dropper hopper loop done. As you can see, the item actually starts right here, and then it makes its way that way. Your refire dropper's here, and then it's going to make its way this way, and then your last pulse is powered right here. And now, for the more exciting and more interesting part, I'm going to be doing the slider circuit that actually powers these pistons. Okay, so what you're going to do, dropper facing up, and then dropper facing that way. So dropper facing that way, dropper facing up, hopper facing down into this dropper, and then hopper facing this way. And inside of this dropper, you're going to place 3 items. Inside of this dropper, you're going to place 1. And then you're going to get a green block, place them like this, 3 blocks like this, place a comparator right here, and then place a redstone dust. Actually, is this supposed to be green? Yeah. Just like that. And then over here, you're going to place a normal piston. This is basically your updater, just to make sure that it isn't locational. And then you're going to get a, did I build this part wrong too? I did, okay, so remove those, place a dropper like this, put those hoppers like that, and then this hopper is actually supposed to be facing into that dropper, hopper facing into that hopper. So your loop is going like that way, that way, that way, that way, and that way. My mistake. And then here, 4 redstone dust, and then 4 redstone repeaters, all set to 3 ticks. And this is where you're going to be placing your burnout. So place a dust right here, block, block, powered rail just like this, and then you're going to be placing a redstone torch on this block. And as you can see, this is the entire bottom powering circuit, and it also powers these repeaters right here. If I update this burnout, as you can see, it does an extension and it does a retraction. Okay, so that is basically how this part works. That is how these pistons retract. Okay, now that we're done with that, we're going to be getting started with our storage. The bottom storage in this door is pretty straightforward. Actually, let's do our inputs real quick. For your inputs, they're going to look like this. You have some blocks, a slab here, very important, 2 redstone dust, repeater, and then your storage circuit is going to be light blue. It's going to go like this, sticky piston facing up like that, block, repeater, repeater, 3 redstone dust like this, and then you're going to put block. Actually, this is going to be your gray circuit, or your inputs. And whoops, I powered that. Don't worry about that. That's okay. 2 blocks like this, a redstone dust up here, 2 repeaters, block, and then a dust. And then here, you're going to be placing a normal piston there and a normal piston there. And this is basically a slider. And now what this slider does is, I will show you in a second, because this will do stuff after the refire, for the refire, and I'll show you that in a second. Place, actually, ugh, I broke that glass block. God damn it. Okay, fix that real quick. My bad. Okay. So, and then your blue circuit, rest of your storage block right here. And then this is going to be a red block right here. And another light blue block right here. Just like that. Repeater going into this sticky piston. This is going to be powering this. This is your storage piston here, and these are also your top storage, or the top part of the storage. Repeater, frame blocks, and then here you're going to place a sticky piston facing down, and a sticky piston facing down right here. Block, redstone block, sticky piston, block, redstone block right here. And basically, as you saw, this is a dual edge monostable circuit. If I power this redstone block goes up and down, and this will power the repeater just like that. And basically what this circuit does is, why does it say second point? Whatever. Basically what this does, when this turns on, this does one pulse, and then when this turns off, it does the second pulse. That's basically how this part works. Okay, and then basically, this is going to be your orange circuit. This is your refire circuit or this is not really the refire. Well, it is, but this is to push your taped blocks in. And the circuit that pushes the taped blocks in is actually the same exact circuit as the quadruple extender retraction, except that they power a little bit at different times, and I'll show you why they do that. Orange block right here, and then you're going to place a comparator block, and then you're going to place a sticky piston redstone block. And basically what this does, if I power this powers the slider to place a glass block into where the storage is. Basically, this glass block prevents the storage from being broken by the quad retraction. A sticky piston, and then you're going to go to cauldron, and then put a water bucket, put water in there, and then you're going to a slab, place a slab right here, and then a comparator. Basically, this is going to power, these two pistons power at the same time. This comparator, or cauldron, powers the storage, and this redstone block right here pushes up the slider. Like, let's say it's in this position. This pushes up the slider to unblock, to basically not let the storage fire from the retraction. And then over here, we're going to be placing our tape. Okay, so for, there's going to be, there's going to be another dropper hopper loop here. Dropper, dropper like that. And then you're going to be placing a bunch of hoppers going that way, hoppers going that way. So basically your hopper are going in a clockwise loop just like this. And then the rest of your inputs are going to be here. Redstone repeaters, all one tick. Redstone dust running all the way along here. And then over here, you're going to place a slab right here, 2 repeaters, and that basically connects your storage to the top row of your quad extender. Okay. And then here, you're going to put a slab, redstone dust. And if you're in Minecraft 1.8, you're going to place a tripwire hook right here. But since we're in 1.16, we don't want this tripwire here. 3 blocks, redstone dust, 2 repeaters all set to 4 ticks. Redstone dust right here, and then you're going to put a purple block here, which is your tape activation, and then you're going to place a pink block, which is your last pulse circuit. Redstone torch, block, redstone dust, redstone torch, block, block, repeater. This is your last pulse circuit. Basically what this does, this loop down here will give a 4-tick, basically a 4-tick pulse to this torch, which will basically activate this controlled burnout, which powers this repeater twice. Okay. And now okay, so this part, if you're building this in a slow location, you're not going to put anything here. So like if your tape did this, you're not going to place anything here, but since this is the fast version of the door, you're going to place a block and a repeater on 4 ticks. This basically makes sure your slider gets pushed up at the right time. And then over here, we're going to be placing the rest. This is going to be the quad retraction circuit. Block, block, comparator, just like that. Block, block, block. Redstone dust. A repeater right here set to 3 ticks, and a block. I'll explain what this does in a minute. Block, block, redstone dust, block, comparator, and then you're going to put a slab right here, 2 redstone dust. And basically what this does, this basically when your item goes in here to refire, actually, yeah, I was just making sure I put the comparator. So when the item enters this dropper right here, this piston will power, and then this comparator will turn on, and this will power the dropper here to unpower the refire. Okay, so now we're going to be building the tape circuit. Now this tape circuit is a little bit interesting because I have never seen this tape circuit used in a door. So you're going to place your detector rail here, magenta block because that's part of your tape, redstone dust, a redstone torch, and then you're going to place 2 hoppers facing into each other just like that, and then you're going to place a powered rail right here. Basically what this powered rail does is when the redstone block arrives here, your slider will be pushed down. When the tape is going around, the redstone block arrives here, this powers up the slider. I'm just going to remove these pistons here just to make sure they don't break anything. And then inside of this hopper, you're going to be placing a non-stackable item. Very important, just like a golden hoe or something, it doesn't really matter as long as it's non-stackable. Comparator, block, and then I'm going to place a sticky piston right here, and then a normal piston. Actually, you're going to place the sticky piston first. Torch, block, the sticky piston will fire, and then you're going to place a normal piston right here. Basically, the way this works is that if I turn this off, this is how your tape works. And then when the tape finishes, this torch will turn back on, and that will finish the tape. And then for the rest of your tape, what you're going to do is we're going to be finishing the tape activation circuit first. So you're going to place a furnace right here. Just put 1 64 stackable item inside. Block, comparator, block, and then we're going to place a normal piston here, which will extend 2 blocks like that. This is sticky piston, yeah. And then we're going to place a, what color did I do that? A purple block right here. Basically what this does, this tape activation circuit is basically an AND gate. Basically, after your refire powers on the bottom, or your tape pushing in blocks, this piston will retract. Basically, this comparator will power this comparator. This should be in subtraction mode, just like that. And then this piston retracts. And then when that piston retracts, the top is going to push down this, which will activate your tape. And your tape is going to be magenta, so put your block right there. 2 redstone dust. A redstone torch facing into it like this. And you're going to put a normal piston right here, and then a normal piston right here. Place your door block so this doesn't power. Magenta block right here. Redstone dust. Redstone torch just like that. This will start spazzing out, just ignore that, and then you're going to place a redstone block right here, and that will stop. And then this should, let me check to see. This should be the entire bottom completed. I don't know, let me see. Okay. And then before we do anything, what you're going to do is place these pistons back, and then update this burnout right here so that these pistons retract. Make sure the bottom pistons here are not extended, or else everything will break. and then place your quad pistons back right here. And place these blocks right here because will be your tape. And now for the items inside of these droppers, what you're going to do is place a non-stackable item in this dropper right here, and then you're going to place a 64 stackable item in this hopper right here. And then you're going to place in this dropper down here, the one next to the sticky piston, you're going to place an item inside there. And then in this dropper, you're also going to place an item which somehow has an item already in it. That must have been by accident, but there should be an item in here. And if you're in 1.8, for some reason, you're also going to need an item in here. But since we're in Minecraft 1.16, you don't need an item in there. And now, I think this is everything completed. I'm so bad at tutorials, I don't know. Is this done? Is this done? I hope I didn't miss anything important. That would suck. Okay, so this is your closing. This worked just like it should. Item should be in this hopper. Now let's test the opening. Okay, your tape is firing. Your top is refiring. This is working well so far. I think I did it. I did it first try. It's amazing. I've never had it. I don't know if I've ever had a tutorial work first try without it breaking. That is insane. Except for the top, but you know, that was just for testing. Okay. And now that the door is completed, I'm going to be explaining some of the circuits I didn't really explain very well earlier. So what I'll do is just wait for this to open. 1 second. Okay, now I'm going to explain to you what each circuit does. Okay, so now that the door is completed, I'm going to be explaining to you a little better how the bottom actually works. So basically, if I power the door, you'll see that this fires twice. Basically, those two pulses do the storage. Basically, these pistons power. There's a T-flip-flop right here, and then these fire, which is like this dust fires these two pistons. This dust right here powers this repeater, which powers this piston, and then this block actually powers the piston behind there. Okay, and now basically this tape, this loop right here, when the tape starts, the item gets fired out of here and goes in here, and when the tape ends, this comparator powers right here. Okay, and then for basically, what this does is for your tape pushing the blocks in, this loop right here controls that. This comparator right here that I placed earlier, you can't really see it a little bit there. The item starts in here, and then when I close the door, basically the slider unpowers and powers the hoppers in a way for the item to enter here. This was the hardest part of this door. This dropper hopper loop on the bottom was 100% the hardest part. And the reason this part was so difficult is because this loop does two completely different things in this door. Like one, as you saw before, when the tape powers, these blocks pushing in, that is from this loop. And also, after the tape completes, that loop also powers these refire right here, which basically does the retraction. And also, the reason this part is so difficult is because these two things have to happen at very different times. Basically, when your tape blocks push in, like this, those have to happen right after, it has to happen right after the bottom pistons extend and retract. So I open it. As you can see, before the pistons retract, these pistons extend into it. The tape extends, and as you can see, in the middle of the tape, these pistons spazzed out a little bit. And that is actually very, very important for the functionality of the door. And as you can see, that refire happens only when these pistons have retracted all the way. This happens in a few tick different, a little bit a different time, a little bit later than when you're pushing the tape blocks in. And the reason this actually works is because when you power this, okay, so basically this part is a little bit more difficult to explain because the way it works is a little strange. So when a burnout, if you have a burnout and have it pulse, that dust powers exactly 8 times. And basically, when this tape completes, basically when you have 8 burnout pulses and you close it, 8 burnout pulses takes the item in here. And when I'm opening it, watch where the item ends up. The item finally ends up in here after the spaz from the last pulse circuit. The item ends up in here. Or somewhere. Where does it end up? I don't remember. But, basically, when this tape circuit ends, or when this comparator powers, and this repeater powers as dust, basically, when you're powering it with this repeater right here, this also updates the burnout. But also, this repeater gives this line a 9th pulse, which basically what that does is it throws the item ahead just enough to reach this dropper over here, which does the refire later. And basically, this loop right here is chained to the last pulse right here. And basically, the reason it's like that is because it's the only way to fit it, and also because the that spaz that the refire does, or that the last pulse does, actually sends the item from here. Basically, when the last pulse powers during the tape, this comparator powers this dropper, and the item in here actually makes its way all the way through to one of these, I don't remember which one it ends up in, to one of these droppers in here. And basically when that happens, after the tape finishes and the bottom pistons extend, the refire basically happens here. And also, when this ends, this dust right here gives this a 4-tick pulse, or some kind of pulse, and then basically that powers this comparator, and basically it retracts the storage. And when that storage retracts after the tape, this 3-tick repeater right here powers the middle row of pistons. So let's say when these pistons are powering, as you can see, this bottom row of pistons stays extended, so that when this repeater powers, these extend, and then this repeater from here extends the top row. Storage, it basically does a double extension, the burnout retracts it, and then the last pulse over here powers. Basically, the last pulse is basically those 2 pulses that happen after that refire. And basically that last pulse powers, which basically spams the burnout again and actually puts the item exactly where it's supposed to be. As you can see, when you look over here, that repeater powers twice. And that does those 2 moves right here. Okay. And I think that's pretty much all I can really explain. If you want to see the tape activation, this is how the tape activation works. Piston retracts, this one extends. And then this extends again. That is basically how the tape only powers that one time. It's basically an AND gate, but for that AND gate to actually activate, this piston has to retract first, otherwise this won't get updated, so it won't break anything. Okay, I think that's pretty much all I really have to explain. I'm going to place the frame blocks in here just so it looks a little nicer now that the door is complete. This was a very difficult one to explain. I'm not very good at explaining things, but I hope this helped a little bit in showing how the door works and stuff. So I'm also gonna get rid of these barriers just so it's nice and complete. Like that, and then okay. This is your door complete. I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope you learned a little bit about 6x6, or at least this one, because I don't know how other 6x6s work. I've never really looked at other people's 6x6 doors, so this is, hope was a little bit informative about it, so let's wait for it to open, and yep, that's all I really have to show you guys. See ya.